We're joined by head coach Scott Abell of Washington Lee University football. They were picked number 6 in this year's preseason poll. Coach, let's talk about your squad here coming into the season. You haven't quite started workouts just yet, but you're getting close to that point. What do you see for your team as nobody's got a record right now, just coming in right now? How do you think your boys are going to be after the spring off season coming into the preseason now?
Well, it's a much different field than last year. You know, we're still not a very old football team, but we're a much more experienced team than we were last year at this time. And you know, when you look back to 2014, it really at times was a frustrating year for our program, and I know it was for our players and our staff. But you know, to our kids' credit, they fought every game, and you know, in 4 of our losses, we had the lead or tied in the 4th quarter with a very young team. And you know, as we look ahead, and you know, we couldn't have had a better off season. You know, our kids worked hard. Our kids got healthy. We're probably as healthy as we've been in as a program in probably 2 years. But with that said, that's still one of the keys. We got to stay healthy. You know, we'll have the smallest roster in the conference by far, and you know, you can't afford to have those key injuries that have kind of haunted us for the last 2 seasons.
The running game has been a staple for Washington Lee in your tenure, both as when you were the offensive coordinator and now for the last several years as the head coach. Let's talk a little bit about where you feel that is right now, because looking at last year, you really didn't find its stride until maybe those last few games when you exploded for over 400 yards, and you've done that now 10 times over the last 3 seasons. Talk a little about where you see your running game this year.
Well, as you said, I think we were hitting a stride, and we had shown glimpses of it coming kind of that mid-pack of the season, and put some pretty good rushing numbers up against some really good defenses midway through the conference play, and just kind of continue to get better with a very talented but young backfield. You know, when we started last year, you know, we had one quarterback on roster that had any playing experience at all, which was Charlie, and that was by a matter of just a handful of snaps. And you know, and in our system, with all the decisions they have to make inside our option game, our triple option game, and everything we do with that, it's a difficult system to integrate yourself to, and he did a fantastic job of it last year. And on top of that, you know, we surrounded him with young backs last year. Marshall was our most experienced, but he was just a sophomore, and you mixed in a bunch of other sophomores with very little or no experience last year, and now some newcomers, Walker Brand and Duncan Maxwell, some kids who really contributed as freshmen. It just it took us a while to grow into who we were, and coming as we head into this season, we're really excited about that group and how they continue to get better and how they finish the season. And so we feel like as a option program, we're headed in the direction we want to head.
Not only is it ball carriers that are important for you with that, but then offensive linemen. You've had several years we've had first-team offensive linemen, Custer being All-American status, and I know you had another one that just graduated from last year, Micah Fleet. Talk a little bit about what you see from that group coming in this year.
Well, yeah, it's a group that returns really 3 starters, you know, and really 4 if you count partial start time. You know, we graduated 3 kids that had good careers with us. You know, as you said, Mike had a great career with us, but we feel good about that group. Like all our position groups, they need to stay healthy. You know, there'll be our depth will be built on young kids there. But you know, when you look at kids who are probably going, you know, find their way in the mix for the first time, kid by the name of Chris Ozier, who's a sophomore, who played a little bit last year, but really will be called upon to have a bigger role. And then, you know, guys that are have some great deal of experience, like Mike LaSala, who started for us last year until he got hurt, really has a fantastic future. I mean, he was having a fantastic season up until he got hurt, which against Sydney midway through the year. And then Peter Whitwer and one of our captains, Randy Carlson, both are going to be seniors, and we expect them to be just kind of great leaders for us up front.
Let's switch sides and go to the defensive side of the ball now, and you've got a couple leaders coming back there that have all-conference experience with Moody Hurd and your linebacking core and Patrick Wright up front. Talk a little bit about those guys and who you expect more from coming into this season at different areas of your defense.
Well, if we have some kind of senior-laden area, it's really on defense. You know, we have kids like, as you mentioned, Patrick and Moody, and Christian Cranford, who one of our captains, who all 3 of those guys have had really fantastic careers with us, and you know, had really good, you know, junior seasons. And you know, we just need them to take that next step. You know, we need those 3 guys and to take that next step in their careers, but more importantly, as a defensive unit, to bring the group together. And last year, you know, we played so many young defensive backs. You know, at times we had 3 and 4 first-year players on the field in our secondary. And as everyone knows, in our conference, you know, unless you're playing us, and most everyone else is slinging it around, you need some experience back there. So we're excited to have all those kids back. The secondary's back, really most of our second level's back. Our leading tackler John Carrick's back, and probably more importantly than anything else we haven't mentioned, Jake Barr, who was severely injured his second game of the season, second quarter against Swanee, missed the entire season, was an all-conference linebacker as a sophomore, is back and healthy, and we expect great things from him and his leadership.
Thinking a little bit of defensive philosophy off your offense. When your offense is moving, it can explode and you can score quick and you get a lot of yards up there. But what's kind of lost in that is the defense can be on the field a lot. Does that change the way you play a little bit of defense based on how your offense is doing?
Well, I think the big thing is the mentality. The guys have to, they have to understand that, and they have to buy into who we are as a program. And our guys have done that, including our defensive staff. And it's probably never ever easy on them because we're not that let's control the clock, let's grind it out and control the game with a slow tempo running game. We're an up tempo running game. We're as you said, we're trying to move the ball up and down the field and score points. And so our defense does get back on the field probably a little more often than they would want, and a little quicker sometimes than they would like. But they understand that, and probably the tough part for them is as they approach those early season games that they quite haven't seen the vertical passing game that they're going to see here, as we get into conference play from ourselves. So, it's really important that they learn from film and they grab those concepts through experience. And I think that's one thing you'll see with our secondary and our back seven this year is that the experience they got last year will pay off for us.
Let's talk a little bit about a conference outlook right now. You're number 6 in the preseason poll. When we take a look at it, we've got Guilford that is on paper separated themselves with the 7 first place votes to be number 1, and then the 3 teams tied for number 2. Those 4 teams were tied to top the standings last year. We had to dive deep into tiebreakers, determine who the champion, who's going to the NCAA tournament. Talk a little bit about what we saw last year coming into this year now and what you see for your team and what you need to do to climb that ladder to get up into that top group.
Well, certainly. I think the conference is an extremely strong competitive conference right now. It's got a great deal of parity in it, and as you see with the voting and those top 4 teams are all deserving of where they sit right now. And but with that said, I think last year proved, I think on any given Saturday, every team's in the mix, and I think that's what's always made this conference play so exciting, and I think very rarely do the polls get it exactly right. Sometimes they do, but, I think for us, I think the key is some early confidence, and really picking up where we left off, to be honest. With the young football team, we felt like we gradually got better, continued to play good football, continue to believe in what we were doing, and it showed by the end of the year. And so we really want to pick up with that momentum carried into 2015.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for joining me, and good luck this season.
Thanks, JJ.